Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is MJ Panky, and today I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what I have done so far to figure out a book cover for my book. First of all, I think everybody understands that a book cover is probably the single most important part of your book marketing campaign. Whether we like it or not, people judge books by their covers. If you're looking for ideas for your book covers, I'm just sharing some of how I've approached this. And if you haven't thought about some of these ways to approach designing a book cover, maybe you'll find this insightful. So I looked up novelists who I felt my book would kind of sit next to on the shelf. So my book is a Greek themed fantasy. And so I kind of envision it sitting close to books like Circe or Song of Achilles or Jennifer Saint's books, Ariadne and Electra. So I'm looking at those kinds of books and I'm seeing, because those are the readers I'm targeting too. And that's like the ultimate purpose for that approach. It's not necessarily to like try and look as prestigious as these other authors necessarily. It's to attract the readers of those books. So that's my target audience. So if they find those books appealing, then my cover needs to have that vibe. That's what I need to find in a cover illustrator. Now, I've seen lots of videos from YouTubers about using Canva to create a decent looking book cover. I actually did sign up for Canva Pro just to kind of test that out and see. Obviously, there's a learning curve to that, and I'm not very artistic. So I quickly abandoned that idea. You know, my book is a fantasy, but it's not your normal fantasy book because it's Greek themed. I don't want it to fall into the sword and sorcery, dragons, Lord of the Rings type shelf. That's not where my book belongs. My book belongs over here with the Greek themed ones. There's a certain look and feel of fantasy novels, and there's a certain look and feel of niche fantasy novels, and mine is a niche. So find your niche and the books that fit into that niche and draw inspiration from how they've designed their covers, especially if they've had wild success like Madeline Miller and Jennifer Saint and Pat Barker. Like they're just wild success as authors. So that's tip number one. Find your niche and find the authors in your niche who have been successful. Really study their book covers. What elements do they have? Once you have that, then you can start looking for an illustrator or a book cover designer who fits well with that vibe. So there are a number of places online that you can find a book illustrator. It's going to cost some money if you're going to pay somebody to do a book cover for you. So set your budget, number one, and recognize that skill deserves to be paid for. I have scoured Fiverr and I found an artist on Fiverr that I feel is a compliment to the vibe I'm going for. And I've booked her. So all of the book covers that I just mentioned, Pat Barker's, Jennifer Saint's, Madeline Miller's, I have snapshotted those and I've sent those to her. And I've also taken elements out of my own story that are particularly Greek. And then I've researched like art from that period that include elements like that. Elements like, you know, diving birds or lilies or Greek architecture. And I've sent those to her as well because that's really the vibe of these book covers that have been successful. They're kind of sort of modeling the artwork of the period they're reflecting. Obviously with a modern twist. I've kind of done the same thing and I've selected the elements that I feel are most relevant to my novel. And I've also sent some color schemes. I'm trying to keep it simple. I am seeing the trend of novels book covers that the design is simple. Simple is in right now. Flashy, pretty, not complicated. Like just something to kind of like, ooh, shiny, and draw buyers over there to that part of the shelf. So I have a very simple color palette. This is the book cover for Circe. There's bronze and black and white. That's it. Very, very simple color palette. Madeline Miller's Song of Achilles has like 2 colors on it. Blue, like a almost the color of my shirt, turquoise, and gold. Jennifer Saint's Ariadne has like a dark orange, a light orange, a dark blue, and a light blue, and that's it. Same thing with her Electra. I think she has like a dark brown and an orange and a cream colored white, and that's it. So that's what I'm going for there. I've got 4 colors that I'm hoping to work with. I'm pretty confident with this Fiverr artist. Now, I've heard good and bad things about Fiverr artists, and in my search to narrow down someone that I wanted to work with, I came across a lot of artists who were using the exact same stock cover image to advertise their services. And the book covers on that image looked amazing. The problem is that the book covers they used were actual book covers that traditional publishing houses had contracted someone else to put on the covers of their books that are actually bestsellers. If that made any sense. So a lot of the artists had just taken book covers that they had not designed themselves to use as samples of, hey, I can design a fantasy cover for you. This is a fantasy cover and I can design one like this for you. But that's not actually an example or representative of their particular talent. That's someone else's. So that seems to be like, it might be illegal to me, but I came across 7 or 8 different cover artists that did the exact same thing with the exact same image to advertise their services. And so that's actually what clued me in to the fact that maybe that's not representational of their talent, because if 8 different people have designed the exact same 3 covers, there's something's weird going on there. So that's what drove me to kind of research that a little bit more. Definitely look at the portfolios of these artists that you're looking at on Fiverr. See what their people who have given them reviews, what do their covers look like? Because when someone buys services from Fiverr, they have the option to leave a review with a picture of the final product with their review. And you get to actually see what the artist delivered to the customer that way. So definitely look at the reviews, look at what customers have actually gotten from the artist to determine if their experience level and their talent is in alignment with what you're needing for your novel. I'm pretty confident in the one that I selected. Her portfolio looked really good. The design that I'm wanting for my novel is not overly complicated, but even if it was a little bit more complicated, I'm confident that her experience level and her talent would be able to meet that requirement. So anyways, I'm confident in the artist that I have. There are also other websites out there that do book cover stuff. So there's one called 99 Designs, which I found out about later. That's basically where you can pay like a package. I think like $2.99 is the cheapest package. But they have other ones too, like $5.99 and $7.99 if you want to get like really serious about it. And people, you put a design concept out there, what you're looking for your novel, and then artists bid on it. And you only pay that $2.99 or $5.99 or $7.99 fee if you actually select one of those designs. So that's really awesome. So keep that in mind too. It's called 99 Designs. And then the other one that I just recently learned about is called behance.com. And apparently they're affiliated with Adobe in some way. But the portfolios of the artists on there are actually their artwork. So whereas Fiverr, you apparently artists can just put whatever pictures they want on there as their portfolio. Behance is a little bit more strict with that. Most of the artists that I found on there, it was their actual work, and it led to actual websites where they are showcasing their works. I did not actually get a quote from anybody on Behance, but it looked to be more expensive than Fiverr. But again, I did not actually ask anybody for what their prices were. And that's a downside of Behance, because on Fiverr you get to see what your artist charges for their work, whereas on Behance I didn't see any dollar signs or anything. So keep that in mind when you're going through and trying to find the best cover artist for your book. But that's been my experience so far. This has been a really lengthy video. Hopefully hasn't been too rambly, but the key points are, if you are trying to figure out, if you are self-publishing your book, cover matters. Be willing to invest some money in getting a cover designed. Definitely have your budget in mind, and understand that artists know their worth, and this is representational of your story, your experience. This is what the buyer of your book is going to see. This is what is going to make them pick up your book and want to learn more about it. And so with that in mind, investing money in a cover is very, very important. And artists know their worth, and they deserve to be paid, because what they give you is going to drive sales for your book. So they are very important in this process. So all this to say, don't begrudge an artist their fee, because they are so important to your success. So anyways, understand your niche. Who is your niche audience? Do they want to read about, historical romance set in Victorian era period? Do they want sword and sorcery? Understand who your audience is for your novel, and look at the successful authors in that niche. It's not just, oh, I wrote a fantasy novel. No, it's like, I wrote a fantasy novel with dragons, or I wrote a fantasy novel with orcs, or I wrote a historical romance about pirates. Know your niche, and then find authors who have been successful in that niche and study their covers. And then start your search for an artist who can replicate that. Give them examples, give them a color palette. My Fiverr artist was super enthusiastic about my projects. So I'm really excited to work with her. That's pretty much all I've got. Yeah, so there's Fiverr, there's 99 Designs, there's Behance. If I discover any other platforms for graphic designers or artists for book covers, I will post another video and talk about it. So anyways, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about this. Please subscribe, and I will see you guys in a future video. Happy writing.